What if I told you that every conversation you have, every meeting you attend, every interaction you engage in is actually a battle for influence? A battle where most people show up completely unarmed while a select few wield invisible weapons that allow them to shape minds, control outcomes, and accumulate power without anyone even realizing what's happening. Right now, at this very moment, you are either influencing or being influenced. There is no neutral ground. You are either shaping the thoughts and decisions of others, or you are having your thoughts and decisions shaped by forces you don't even recognize. The brutal truth is that 99% of people go through life as pawns in other people's games, never realizing that influence is not some mysterious talent you're born with. It's a learnable system that can be mastered every day. Master influencers, billionaires, world leaders, top salespeople, elite negotiators are using psychological principles that most people have never even heard of to get exactly what they want. They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented than you. They simply understand how the human mind works and how to leverage that understanding to create the outcomes they desire. But here's what they don't want you to know. These techniques aren't secrets locked away in some elite vault. They're not mystical powers reserved for the chosen few. They are systematic, learnable skills that anyone can master if they understand the psychology behind them. And that's exactly what this audiobook will teach you. By the time you finish listening, you will never enter another conversation, negotiation, or interaction the same way again. You will understand the hidden forces that drive human behavior. You will know how to position yourself as an authority, how to frame conversations to your advantage, how to make people genuinely want to help you achieve your goals. You will learn the difference between manipulation, which is short-term and unethical, and strategic influence, which creates win-win outcomes while ensuring you get what you want. This is not about tricks or gimmicks. This is about understanding human psychology at the deepest level and using that understanding to create the life you want. Because whether you realize it or not, influence is the ultimate skill. It determines your income, your relationships, your opportunities, and your ability to create change in the world. Most people will never learn these skills. They will continue to wonder why others seem to effortlessly get promotions, close deals, build powerful networks, and achieve their goals while they struggle and settle for less. But you are not most people. You're here because you understand that success in any field ultimately comes down to your ability to influence others. And you're about to learn how to do it at a level most people never even know exists. The question is, are you ready to stop being influenced and start becoming the influencer? Are you ready to step into a level of personal power that will fundamentally change how you navigate every aspect of your life? Because once you understand these principles, there's no going back. You'll see influence happening everywhere, and more importantly, you'll know exactly how to wield it yourself. Chapter 1: The Hidden Psychology of Influence. Let me start with a truth that will probably make you uncomfortable. Every single day, your thoughts, decisions, and actions are being shaped by people who understand your psychology better than you do. From the moment you wake up and check your phone to the conversations you have at work to the content you consume before bed, master influencers are pulling strings in your mind that you don't even realize exist. Think about the last major purchase you made. Did you really decide to buy that product? Or were you influenced by carefully crafted marketing messages, social proof, scarcity tactics, and psychological triggers designed to make you feel like you needed it? Think about your political opinions, your career choices, even your relationship decisions. How many of these were truly your independent thoughts versus ideas that were strategically planted in your mind by others? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is simply how influence works in the modern world. And the people who understand it are accumulating massive amounts of power, wealth, and control while everyone else remains oblivious to the game being played. But here's what's truly fascinating about influence. It's not magic, and it's not manipulation when done correctly. It's simply the science of understanding how human beings process information, make decisions, and form beliefs. And once you understand this science, you can use it ethically to create outcomes that benefit everyone involved. The foundation of all influence lies in understanding that human beings are not rational decision makers. We like to think we are. We tell ourselves that we weigh the facts, consider our options carefully, and make logical choices. But decades of research in psychology and neuroscience have proven beyond any doubt that this is simply not how the human brain works. Instead, we are emotional decision makers who use logic to justify choices we've already made subconsciously. We are influenced by cognitive biases, social pressures, and psychological triggers that operate below the level of conscious awareness. We make snap judgments based on limited information, then filter new information to support those initial judgments. We are far more predictable than we want to admit and far more influenceable than we realize. This is not a weakness. It's simply how our brains evolved to function. For thousands of years, humans survived by making quick decisions based on pattern recognition and social cues. We developed mental shortcuts called heuristics that allowed us to navigate complex social situations without having to consciously analyze every single interaction. These same mental shortcuts that kept our ancestors alive are now the pathways that master influencers use to shape our modern behavior. Understanding these pathways is the key to strategic influence. When you know how people really make decisions, when you understand the psychological triggers that drive behavior, you can position your ideas, requests, and proposals in ways that feel natural and compelling to others. You're not forcing anyone to do anything they don't want to do. You're simply presenting your message in a way that aligns with how their brain is already wired to process information. Let's start with one of the most powerful psychological principles in all of influence: reciprocity. This principle states that people feel obligated to return favors and gestures of goodwill. When someone does something for us, we experience psychological discomfort until we can repay that debt. This isn't conscious most of the time. It's a deep-seated psychological drive that influences behavior even when people aren't aware of it. Master influencers understand this principle and use it systematically. They don't ask for what they want immediately. Instead, they lead with value. They offer help, share useful information, provide introductions, or solve problems for others before ever making a request. By the time they do ask for something, the other person feels a natural inclination to help because of the psychological debt that has been created. But reciprocity goes deeper than just doing favors. It also applies to concessions. When you make a request and the other person says no, you can often get them to agree to a smaller request because they feel obligated to meet you halfway. This is called the door-in-the-face technique, and it works because people want to appear reasonable and cooperative. Another fundamental principle is social proof. Humans are social creatures who look to others for cues about how to behave, especially in uncertain situations. We assume that if other people are doing something, it must be the right thing to do. This is why testimonials are so powerful, why crowds attract more crowds, and why people are more likely to buy a product if they know others have bought it. Strategic influencers leverage social proof by demonstrating that their ideas, products, or proposals have been accepted by others, especially by people the target audience respects or identifies with. They use case studies, testimonials, endorsements, and references to show that their request is not unusual. It's actually what smart, successful people do. Authority is another crucial principle. People are hardwired to defer to authority figures, often without even questioning whether that authority is legitimate. This is why credentials, titles, uniforms, and symbols of status are so influential. But authority doesn't have to come from formal positions. It can be established through expertise, experience, or even just confident presentation. The key to building authority is demonstrating competence before making requests. When people perceive you as an expert or leader in a particular area, they are much more likely to accept your recommendations and follow your guidance. This is why thought leaders spend so much time creating content, speaking at events, and sharing their knowledge before ever trying to sell anything. Commitment and consistency represent another powerful influence pathway. Once people make a commitment, especially a public one, they feel psychological pressure to remain consistent with that commitment. This happens because inconsistency creates cognitive dissonance, which is psychologically uncomfortable. People will go to great lengths to appear consistent even when it's not in their best interest. Strategic influencers use this principle by getting people to make small commitments that lead to larger ones. They might ask someone to agree with a principle before asking them to take action based on that principle. Or they might get someone to make a small commitment that establishes a pattern of compliance. Each yes makes the next yes more likely. Liking is perhaps the most obvious but underutilized principle of influence. People are more likely to be influenced by people they like. This seems simple, but most people don't understand what actually makes someone likable in a business or professional context. It's not about being funny or entertaining. It's about finding genuine common ground, showing sincere interest in others, and demonstrating that you understand their perspective. The most powerful aspect of liking is similarity. People like people who are similar to them. This means that effective influencers adapt their communication style, pace, and even body language to match the person they're trying to influence. They find shared experiences, mutual connections, or common values that create a sense of kinship. Scarcity is the final principle that drives most human decision. People value things more when they perceive them as rare or limited. This is why limited time offers work, why exclusive opportunities are so attractive, and why people want what they can't have. Scarcity triggers our fear of missing out and compels us to take action. But scarcity isn't just about quantity. It's also about accessibility. When information, opportunities, or resources are difficult to obtain, they automatically become more valuable in people's minds. Strategic influencers understand this and position their offers, ideas, or proposals as exclusive or limited access. These 6 principles, reciprocity, social proof, authority, commitment and consistency, liking and scarcity, form the foundation of all strategic influence. They are not tricks or gimmicks. They are fundamental aspects of human psychology that have been scientifically validated through decades of research. When you understand these principles and learn to apply them ethically, you gain the ability to shape outcomes in virtually any situation. But understanding the principles is only the beginning. The real power comes from learning how to combine them strategically, how to apply them in different contexts, and how to use them in ways that create genuine value for everyone involved. Because the goal of strategic influence is not to manipulate or deceive. It's to become so skilled at presenting your ideas that others naturally want to support them. In the next chapter, we'll explore the hidden forces that control decision and learn how to position yourself to take advantage of these forces rather than being controlled by them. Chapter 2: The Hidden Forces That Control Decision Making. If you want to understand influence at the deepest level, you need to understand how people really make decisions. And here's what most people don't realize. The conscious rational mind that you think is in control of your choices is actually just along for the ride most of the time. The real decision happens in parts of your brain that you're not even aware of, driven by forces that operate completely below the level of conscious thought. This is simultaneously terrifying and incredibly empowering. It's terrifying because it means you have far less control over your own decisions than you think. But it's empowering because once you understand these hidden forces, you can learn to influence them both in yourself and in others. Let's start with the most fundamental truth about human decision. We are not thinking machines that feel. We are feeling machines that think. Every decision you've ever made, from the trivial to the life-changing, was ultimately driven by emotion and then justified with logic after the fact. This isn't a flaw in human reasoning. It's a feature. Our emotional responses evolved to help us make quick decisions in complex situations, and they're actually remarkably accurate most of the time. But here's where it gets interesting. Master influencers understand that if you want to change someone's mind, you don't argue with their logic, you change how they feel. When someone says they need to think about a decision, what they really mean is they don't feel right about it yet. When they say they're not ready, what they mean is the emotional case hasn't been made. When they say they need more information, what they usually mean is they need to feel more confident about the choice. This is why facts alone rarely persuade anyone. You can present the most logical, well-researched argument in the world, but if it doesn't connect emotionally, it will be ignored or forgotten. People don't buy products because of features, they buy because of how those features make them feel. They don't support ideas because they're logical. They support them because they're inspiring. They don't follow leaders because they're smart. They follow them because they feel understood and valued. Understanding this emotional foundation of decision opens up powerful pathways for influence. Instead of trying to convince people with facts and logic, you can learn to create the emotional states that naturally lead to the decisions you want them to make. You can make people feel excited about opportunities, confident about outcomes, or curious about possibilities. But emotions are just one layer of the decision-making process. There are several other hidden forces that shape choices, and master influencers learn to work with all of them simultaneously. One of the most powerful hidden forces is something called anchoring. This is the tendency for people to rely heavily on the first piece of information they receive about a topic. Whatever number, price, or option is presented first becomes the reference point for all subsequent comparisons. This happens automatically and unconsciously. Most people have no idea their judgment is being influenced by anchoring. Here's how master influencers use anchoring. If they want someone to accept a particular proposal, they don't start with that proposal. They start with a higher anchor that makes their real request seem reasonable by comparison. If they want to sell a service for $10,000, they might first mention their premium package that costs $20,000. Suddenly, $10,000 doesn't seem expensive. It seems like a bargain. Anchoring works with more than just numbers. It also applies to expectations, timelines, and effort levels. If you want someone to commit to a 3-month project, you might first mention that similar projects usually take 6 months. If you want someone to agree to a weekly meeting, you might first suggest daily check-ins. The initial anchor makes your actual request seem more reasonable. Another hidden force is something called loss aversion. People feel the pain of losing something roughly twice as strongly as they feel the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. This means that people are more motivated to avoid losses than to achieve gains even when the actual value is identical. Strategic influencers frame their proposals in terms of what people stand to lose rather than what they stand to gain. Instead of saying this opportunity will help you make more money, they say this opportunity will prevent you from falling behind your competitors. Instead of highlighting the benefits of taking action, they emphasize the costs of inaction. This isn't manipulation. It's simply presenting information in a way that aligns with how the brain naturally processes risk and reward. The availability heuristic is another powerful force that shapes decisions. People judge the likelihood or importance of something based on how easily they can remember examples of it. If something comes to mind quickly, we assume it's more common or more important than it actually is. This is why news media has such a powerful influence on public perception. Vivid, memorable stories shape our sense of what's normal or likely, even when those stories are statistical outliers. Influencers use the availability heuristic by making their ideas more memorable and vivid. They use stories, analogies, and concrete examples that stick in people's minds. They know that a single powerful story will be more influential than a dozen statistics because stories are easier to remember and recall. Pattern recognition is perhaps the most fundamental way humans process information. Our brains are constantly looking for patterns and using those patterns to make predictions about the future. When we encounter something new, we automatically compare it to things we've experienced before and make assumptions based on those comparisons. Master influencers understand this and deliberately create patterns that lead to the conclusions they want people to reach. They might share several examples of successful outcomes before making their proposal. So, the other person's brain starts to recognize a pattern of success. They might structure their communication in ways that remind people of positive past experiences. The confirmation bias is another hidden force that shapes how people process information. Once people form an initial impression or belief, they unconsciously filter new information to support that belief and ignore information that contradicts it. This isn't conscious. It's an automatic mental process that helps us maintain consistent worldviews. This bias can work against you if someone has already formed a negative impression of your idea. But it can work for you if you can create positive initial impressions. This is why first impressions are so important and why master influencers invest heavily in how they present themselves and their ideas initially. Social comparison is another powerful force. People don't make decisions in isolation. They make them relative to what others are doing. We constantly compare ourselves to our peers, and these comparisons heavily influence our choices. People don't just want good outcomes. They want outcomes that compare favorably to what others are achieving. Strategic influencers leverage social comparison by showing how their proposal will help someone achieve outcomes that compare favorably to their peer group. They might share examples of others who have achieved success through similar approaches or highlight how taking action will help someone stay competitive with others in their field. The paradox of choice is a fascinating aspect of decision that most people don't understand. While we think we want as many options as possible, research shows that too many choices actually decrease satisfaction and increase the likelihood that people will avoid making any decision at all. This happens because more choices create more opportunity for regret and make the decision-making process feel overwhelming. Master influencers understand this and carefully limit the options they present. Instead of overwhelming people with possibilities, they present a small number of carefully curated choices that all lead toward their desired outcome. They might offer 3 packages instead of 10 or provide 2 alternatives instead of 5. Temporal discounting is another hidden force that shapes decisions. People value immediate rewards much more highly than future rewards, even when the future rewards are objectively better. This is why people struggle with saving money, exercising regularly, or making other choices that require short-term sacrifice for long-term benefit. Strategic influencers work with this bias rather than against it. Instead of asking people to make sacrifices for distant future benefits, they find ways to provide immediate value or create immediate consequences for inaction. They might offer bonuses for quick decisions or highlight immediate benefits that come from taking action. The endowment effect causes people to value things more highly once they own them or identify with them. People will work harder to keep something they have than to acquire something new of equal value. This is why free trials are so effective and why getting people to try something before asking them to buy it is so powerful. Influencers use the endowment effect by finding ways to give people ownership or investment in their ideas before asking for commitment. They might ask for input on the implementation or give people a sense of ownership over the outcome. Once people feel invested in an idea, they become much more motivated to see it succeed. Mental accounting is the tendency for people to treat money or resources differently depending on how they categorize them. People might be reluctant to spend money from their savings account, but freely spend money they categorize as bonus or unexpected income. They might refuse to pay for something with cash, but happily charge it to a credit card. Strategic influencers understand these mental categories and frame their proposals in ways that tap into the right mental account. They might position an expense as an investment rather than a cost or help people think of spending as coming from a different mental category than the one they're resistant to accessing. Understanding these hidden forces gives you incredible power to shape decisions and outcomes. But the key is to use this understanding ethically in ways that create genuine value for everyone involved. The goal is not to trick people into making bad decisions. It's to help them make good decisions by presenting information in ways that align with how their brains naturally work. When you understand how people really make decisions, you can craft your communication, structure your proposals, and position your ideas in ways that feel natural and compelling. You're not fighting against human psychology. You're working with it to create outcomes that benefit everyone. In the next chapter, we'll take these insights and combine them into a systematic framework for strategic influence that you can apply in any situation. Chapter 3: The Strategic Influence Framework. Now that you understand the psychology behind decision-making, it's time to put that knowledge into action. What separates master influencers from everyone else isn't just understanding these principles. It's knowing how to combine them systematically to create predictable outcomes. And that's exactly what this framework will teach you. The Strategic Influence Framework consists of 6 phases: preparation, positioning, presentation, persuasion, persistence, and partnership. Each phase builds on the previous one, creating a systematic approach to influence that works regardless of the specific situation you're facing. Whether you're negotiating a deal, pitching an idea, asking for a favor, or trying to create change in your organization, this framework will guide you through the process step by step. But before we dive into the framework, you need to understand a crucial mindset shift that separates strategic influencers from everyone else. Most people approach influence backwards. They start with what they want and try to convince others to give it to them. Strategic influencers start with what others want and figure out how to align their goals with those desires. This isn't about being selfless or putting others first. It's about understanding that influence is fundamentally about creating value for others in ways that also achieve your own objectives. When you can show people how helping you also helps them achieve their goals, influence becomes effortless. When you're asking people to sacrifice their interest for yours, influence becomes impossible. With that mindset established, let's walk through each phase of the framework. Phase 1 is preparation. This is where most people fail because they skip this phase entirely and jump straight to making their request. But preparation is actually the most important phase of the entire process. Everything that happens in the other phases depends on the work you do here. Preparation begins with research. You need to understand the person or people you're trying to influence at a deeper level than they understand themselves. This means going beyond basic demographic information to understand their motivations, fears, pressures, and aspirations. What keeps them awake at night? What would make their job easier? What are they trying to achieve personally and professionally? What obstacles are they facing? What have they tried before that didn't work? This research isn't just about gathering information. It's about developing genuine empathy for their situation. When you truly understand someone's perspective, you can craft your approach in ways that feel supportive rather than manipulative. You're not trying to get them to do something they don't want to do. You're trying to help them achieve something they do want to do. Part of preparation is also understanding the decision-making process. Who else is involved in the decision? What criteria will be used to evaluate options? What's the timeline? What happened the last time a similar decision was made? Understanding these dynamics allows you to position your approach strategically rather than just hoping for the best. You also need to prepare your value proposition. This isn't just about what you're offering. It's about how what you're offering aligns with what they need. Your value proposition should be specific, compelling, and differentiated. It should clearly answer the question, why should I care about this? Most importantly, it should focus on outcomes they care about, not features you want to highlight. Phase 2 is positioning. This is where you establish the context for your eventual request. Most people make the mistake of leading with their ask, which immediately puts the other person in a defensive posture. Strategic influencers establish favorable context first. Positioning starts with building rapport and credibility. People need to like you and trust you before they'll be influenced by you. This doesn't mean being fake or manipulative. It means finding genuine common ground and demonstrating competence. Share relevant experiences, ask thoughtful questions, and show genuine interest in their perspective. Part of positioning is also establishing authority. You need to demonstrate that you have the expertise, experience, or insight to make your eventual request credible. This might involve sharing relevant case studies, mentioning other successful outcomes you've achieved, or demonstrating deep knowledge of their industry or situation. Another crucial aspect of positioning is setting the right anchor. Remember, the first piece of information people receive heavily influences everything that follows. You want to establish an anchor that makes your eventual request seem reasonable or even conservative by comparison. This might mean discussing the scope of the problem before proposing your solution or mentioning what others in similar situations have done. You also want to create urgency during the positioning phase. This doesn't mean artificial pressure. It means helping people understand why addressing this issue now is important. What's the cost of delay? What opportunities might be missed? What problems might get worse? People need to feel motivated to take action, not just agree with your logic. Phase 3 is presentation. This is where you actually make your request or present your proposal. But if you've done the preparation and positioning phases correctly, the presentation should feel like a natural conclusion rather than a surprise. The key to effective presentation is structure. Your proposal should follow a logical flow that builds toward your request. Start by summarizing the situation you discussed during positioning. Remind them of the problems or opportunities you've identified. Then present your solution as a natural response to those issues. Your presentation should be clear, concise, and focused on benefits they care about. Don't overwhelm them with details or features. Focus on outcomes. Use specific examples and case studies to make your proposal feel real and achievable. Address obvious concerns or objections before they're raised. One powerful technique during presentation is the assumptive close. Instead of asking if they want to move forward, assume they do and start discussing implementation details. This uses the commitment and consistency principle. People often go along with the assumption rather than correcting it. Another technique is offering choices within your proposal. Instead of asking for a yes or no decision, Give them options that all lead toward your desired outcome. This makes them feel more in control while guiding them toward commitment. Phase 4 is persuasion. This is where you handle objections and concerns that arise during or after your presentation. Most people get defensive when faced with objections, but strategic influencers welcome them because objections reveal what's really preventing commitment. The key to handling objections is understanding what's behind them. Most objections aren't really about the surface issue being raised. They are about deeper concerns or fears. When someone says your price is too high, they might really be saying they are not convinced of the value. When they say they need to think about it, they might really be saying they don't feel confident about the decision. Effective persuasion starts with acknowledging the concern and showing you understand it. Don't immediately counter with arguments. This just creates resistance. Instead, ask questions to understand the deeper issue. Help me understand what specifically concerns you about the pricing. What would need to change for you to feel confident moving forward? Once you understand the real concern, you can address it directly. This might involve providing additional information, adjusting your proposal, or helping them see the issue from a different perspective. The goal is not to win the argument. It's to resolve the underlying concern. Phase 5 is persistence. Most people give up too easily when they face initial resistance. They ask once, get a no or maybe, and either give up or become pushy. Strategic influencers understand that persistence is not about being pushy. It's about being patient and systematic. Effective persistence involves staying in touch without being annoying. This means providing ongoing value even when you're not actively pushing for a decision. Share relevant articles. Make useful introductions or provide helpful insights. Each interaction should strengthen the relationship and reinforce your value proposition. You also want to create multiple touch points through different channels. Don't just email follow-up with phone calls, send relevant articles, or suggest brief meetings. Different people respond to different types of communication, and multiple touch points increase the likelihood that your message will be received and remembered. Timing is crucial during the persistence phase. You need to stay visible without being overwhelming. Develop a systematic follow-up schedule that provides value regularly while gradually moving toward commitment. This might involve weekly check-ins for the first month, then bi-weekly, then monthly. Phase 6 is partnership. This begins once you've achieved initial commitment, but it's crucial for long-term influence. Most people stop working on the relationship once they get what they want. But strategic influencers understand that today's agreement creates the foundation for tomorrow's opportunities. Partnership involves over-delivering on your commitments. If you promised certain outcomes, exceed them if possible. If you committed to specific timelines, beat them. Every interaction is an opportunity to build trust and credibility for future influence opportunities. You also want to create ongoing mutual value. Look for ways to help the other person achieve their goals beyond just the specific agreement you've reached. Make introductions, share relevant opportunities, or provide insights that help them succeed. The more valuable you are to someone, the more willing they'll be to help you achieve your future objectives. Documentation is important during the partnership phase. Keep track of outcomes, results, and lessons learned. This information becomes valuable social proof for future influence opportunities. When you can show specific examples of how your previous partnerships created value, new people become much more willing to work with you. Regular communication maintains the relationship even when you don't have active projects together. This might involve quarterly check-ins, holiday greetings, or sharing relevant industry insights. The goal is to stay visible and valuable so that when new opportunities arise, you're top of mind. This framework gives you a systematic approach to influence that works across different situations and contexts. But remember, the framework is just a guide. The real power comes from adapting it to specific situations and relationships. Some phases might be longer or shorter depending on the complexity of what you're trying to achieve. Some might happen simultaneously rather than sequentially. The key is understanding that strategic influence is a process, not a single moment. It requires patience, preparation, and genuine commitment to creating value for others. When you master this framework, you'll find that influence becomes much more predictable and much more ethical. You're not manipulating people, you're helping them make good decisions that benefit everyone involved. In the next chapter, we'll explore advanced persuasion techniques that you can integrate into this framework to make your influence even more powerful and effective. Chapter 4: Advanced Persuasion Techniques. Now that you have the foundational framework, it's time to explore the advanced techniques that separate master influencers from everyone else. These are the psychological strategies that create almost irresistible persuasion when applied correctly. But remember, these techniques are powerful, which means they come with responsibility. Use them ethically to create mutual value, not to manipulate or deceive. Let's start with one of the most powerful techniques in all of persuasion: contrast and reframing. The human brain doesn't evaluate things in isolation. It makes comparisons. The same offer can seem expensive or cheap, reasonable or outrageous, simple or complex, depending entirely on what it's compared to. Master influencers understand this and carefully control the comparisons people make. Contrast works at multiple levels. There's numerical contrast, where you present higher numbers before lower ones to make the lower numbers seem more reasonable. There's temporal contrast, where you highlight how much worse things could get if no action is taken. There's competitive contrast, where you show how your proposal compares favorably to alternatives. And there's historical contrast, where you compare current situations to past problems or successes. But reframing goes deeper than simple contrast. It's about changing the entire context in which a decision is being made. Instead of discussing cost, you discuss investment. Instead of talking about problems, you talk about opportunities. Instead of focusing on features, you focus on outcomes. The facts don't change, but the meaning of those facts shifts dramatically. One of the most powerful reframing techniques is moving from negative to positive. Instead of talking about what won't happen if someone takes action, talk about what will happen. Instead of discussing problems to avoid, discuss benefits to gain. The human brain responds much more strongly to positive framing, especially when making decisions about the future. Another advanced technique is something called the yes ladder. This involves getting people to agree with a series of small statements before asking for your main commitment. Each yes makes the next yes more likely because of the consistency principle. But the key is making sure each step is genuinely logical and leads naturally to the next one. The yes ladder works because it creates momentum. When people have agreed with several of your points, disagreeing with the final one creates cognitive dissonance. They start to see themselves as someone who agrees with your perspective, which makes it easier to agree with your ultimate request. Here's how you might use a yes ladder in practice. You agree that increasing efficiency is important for your team, right? Yes. And you'd want any solution to be simple to implement, correct? Yes. You'd also want to see measurable results within the first month. Yes. Then this approach should be perfect for your situation because it addresses all three of those criteria. Reciprocity amplification is another advanced technique. Basic reciprocity involves doing something for someone before asking for something in return. Reciprocity amplification involves making the favor feel larger and more significant than it actually is without being deceptive about what you're providing. This might involve highlighting the effort you put into creating a proposal specifically for them, or emphasizing the value of information you're sharing that others don't have access to, or mentioning other opportunities you've turned down to focus on their situation. The key is making them feel that you've invested significantly in the relationship before asking for anything in return. Social proof multiplication takes basic social proof and makes it more powerful by being more specific and relevant. Instead of just saying, "Many companies use this approach," you say, "3 companies in your exact industry, each with similar challenges to yours, achieved these specific results using this method." The more similar the social proof is to their situation, the more powerful it becomes. You can also use aspirational social proof where you mention people or organizations they admire or want to be like. If they respect a particular leader or company, knowing that leader or company made a similar decision carries much more weight than generic testimonials from unknown sources. Temporal urgency creation involves making people feel that timing is critical without using artificial pressure tactics. This might involve explaining seasonal factors that affect outcomes, mentioning limited availability of resources or opportunities, or highlighting the compound benefits of starting sooner rather than later. The key to ethical urgency is that it must be real. If there are genuine timing considerations that affect the value or availability of what you're offering, it's appropriate to highlight those. But creating fake deadlines or artificial scarcity is manipulation, not persuasion. Objection anticipation and preemption is an advanced technique where you raise and address concerns before the other person brings them up. This serves multiple purposes. It shows you understand their perspective. It prevents them from building emotional investment in objections, and it allows you to frame the response in the most favorable way possible. The key to effective objection preemption is doing it naturally as part of your presentation, not in a way that seems defensive. You might say something like, "Now, you might be wondering about the timeline for implementation, and here's what we found works best." This addresses the concern while maintaining forward momentum. Value stacking is a technique where you present multiple benefits or components of your offer individually before revealing the total package. This makes the overall value seem much higher than if you had presented everything at once. Each component is evaluated separately, so the sum feels greater than if they had evaluated the package holistically. For example, instead of saying this consulting package costs $50,000, you might say the strategic analysis alone is worth $20,000, the implementation plan another $15,000, the training program $10,000, and the ongoing support $5,000. Normally, that would total $50,000, but I can offer you the entire package for $40,000. The commitment escalation ladder involves getting people to make increasingly larger commitments that build toward your ultimate goal. You start with a small commitment that's easy to make, then gradually increase the size of the commitments as the relationship develops and trust builds. This might start with getting someone to agree to a conversation, then to a meeting, then to a pilot project, then to a full implementation. Each step feels natural and reasonable given the previous commitment, but collectively they lead to much larger engagement than if you had asked for everything up front. Emotional state management is perhaps the most advanced persuasion technique of all. It involves deliberately creating the emotional states that support the decision you want someone to make. If you want someone to feel confident about a decision, you help them imagine successful outcomes. If you want them to feel urgency, you help them understand the costs of delay. The key to ethical emotional state management is that you're helping people feel emotions that are appropriate to the situation, not manipulating them into feeling things that aren't justified. If your proposal genuinely offers significant benefits, helping someone feel excited about those benefits is appropriate. If the costs of delay are real, helping them feel concerned about waiting is ethical. One powerful way to manage emotional states is through storytelling. Stories bypass analytical thinking and create emotional responses directly. When you tell a story about someone in a similar situation who achieved great results through the approach you're recommending, the listener naturally imagines themselves in that situation and begins to feel the emotions associated with that success. The contrast close is an advanced closing technique that presents the decision as a choice between two clear alternatives, one obviously better than the other. Instead of asking, "Do you want to move forward?" you ask, "Would you prefer option A, which includes these benefits, or option B, which includes these other benefits?" Both options lead toward your desired outcome, but the person feels like they're making a choice. This technique works because it eliminates the option of doing nothing while making the person feel in control of the decision. They're not being forced into anything, they're choosing between alternatives that you've presented. Pattern interruption is a technique borrowed from neuro-linguistic programming that involves deliberately breaking expected patterns to create heightened attention and suggestibility. This might involve pausing at unexpected moments, asking surprising questions, or structuring your presentation in unusual ways. When people's expectations are interrupted, their analytical thinking is temporarily disrupted, making them more open to suggestion. This creates brief windows of opportunity where your key messages can be accepted more readily. The authority transfer technique involves borrowing credibility from respected sources. Instead of just stating your opinion, you reference respected authorities who support your position. As Harvard Business School research shows, or according to McKinsey's latest study, this makes your arguments carry more weight because they're associated with credible sources. The key is using authorities that your audience already respects and trusts. The authority you reference should be relevant to the topic and genuinely credible, not just famous or impressive in unrelated areas. Future pacing is a technique where you help people mentally experience the positive outcomes of accepting your proposal. You guide them through imagining what their situation will look like after they've implemented your recommendations. This creates emotional investment in the outcome and makes the benefits feel more real and achievable. Imagine 6 months from now when your team is running more efficiently. Your costs have decreased by 15%, and you're getting recognition from senior leadership for the improvements you've implemented. How would that feel? This makes the benefits feel concrete rather than abstract. These advanced techniques become extremely powerful when combined systematically. But remember, the goal is not to manipulate people into making bad decisions. It's to help them make good decisions by presenting information in the most compelling way possible. When used ethically, these techniques create value for everyone involved while helping you achieve your objectives. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build the kind of unshakable authority that makes people naturally want to follow your recommendations. Chapter 5: Building Unshakable Authority. Authority is the most powerful form of influence because it doesn't feel like influence at all. When people perceive you as an authority in your field, they don't feel like they're being persuaded. They feel like they're receiving expert guidance. They want to follow your recommendations because they trust your judgment and expertise. This is influence at its highest level. Effortless, ethical, and extremely effective. But here's what most people don't understand about authority. It's not just about credentials, titles, or formal positions. True authority is about becoming the person others naturally turn to for insight, guidance, and solutions. It's about developing such deep expertise and such a strong reputation that people seek you out rather than you having to seek them out. Building unshakable authority is a systematic process that anyone can master regardless of their current position or background. It requires strategic thinking, consistent effort, and patience. But the results are transformational. When you have true authority, influence becomes effortless because people want to be influenced by you. The foundation of all authority is genuine expertise. You cannot fake your way to lasting authority. You must actually become exceptionally good at something valuable. This means going deeper than surface-level knowledge to develop insights and understanding that others don't have. You need to become the person who sees patterns others miss, who understands complexities others find confusing, who can predict outcomes others can't anticipate. Developing genuine expertise requires obsessive focus. Most people try to be good at everything and end up being exceptional at nothing. Authority builders choose one area and become absolutely obsessed with mastering it. They read everything, study everyone, analyze every case study, and constantly look for ways to deepen their understanding. But expertise alone isn't enough. Plenty of people have deep knowledge that no one knows about. To build authority, you must demonstrate your expertise consistently and publicly. This means creating content, sharing insights, speaking at events, writing articles, and finding every opportunity to showcase your knowledge in valuable ways. The key to demonstrating expertise is providing value before asking for anything in return. Share your best insights freely. Solve problems for others without expecting immediate compensation. Answer questions in public forums. The more value you provide openly, the more people will recognize your expertise and seek out your guidance. Content creation is one of the most powerful ways to build authority in the modern world. When you consistently create valuable content in your area of expertise, you accomplish several things simultaneously. You demonstrate your knowledge. You help people solve problems. You stay top of mind with your audience. And you create a body of work that establishes your credibility. The key to authority-building content is that it must be genuinely useful. Don't create content just to promote yourself. Create content that makes people's lives better. Share frameworks they can apply, insights they haven't considered, or solutions to problems they're facing. When your content consistently provides value, people start to see you as an expert. But content creation isn't just about volume. It's about consistency and quality. It's better to create one piece of exceptional content per month than to create mediocre content daily. Your content represents your expertise, so it needs to reflect the highest standards of thinking and communication. Public speaking is another powerful authority-building activity. When you speak at conferences, events, or even webinars, you position yourself as an expert worth listening to. The very fact that you've been invited to speak gives you credibility with the audience. But more importantly, speaking allows you to demonstrate your expertise in real time, answer questions, and handle challenges. If you're not getting invited to speak at major events, start smaller. Offer to speak at local meetups, company meetings, or online events. Volunteer to lead workshops or training sessions. Every speaking opportunity builds your reputation and creates new connections that can lead to bigger opportunities. The key to authority building through speaking is focusing on teaching rather than selling. When you genuinely help people learn something valuable, they remember you as an expert. When you use speaking opportunities primarily to promote yourself, people remember you as a salesperson. Thought leadership involves taking positions on important issues in your field and advocating for those positions publicly. This goes beyond just sharing knowledge to actually shaping how people think about key topics. Thought leaders don't just follow trends, they create them. To become a thought leader, you need to develop unique perspectives on important issues. This might involve challenging conventional wisdom, synthesizing ideas from different fields, or predicting future trends before they become obvious. The key is having something genuinely new and valuable to say, not just repeating what others have already said. Thought leadership also requires courage. You have to be willing to take positions that others might disagree with, to challenge popular opinions and to stand behind your ideas even when they're controversial. This risk is what makes thought leadership powerful. When you're right about something important that others missed, your credibility increases dramatically. Strategic networking is crucial for building authority. You need to build relationships with other experts, influencers, and decision makers in your field. These relationships serve multiple purposes. They give you access to insider information. They create opportunities for collaboration, and they provide platforms for sharing your expertise. But authority-building networking is different from typical networking. Instead of focusing on what others can do for you, focus on what you can do for them. Look for ways to help other experts succeed, to introduce valuable connections, and to contribute to their projects. When you consistently add value to other people's efforts, they become advocates for your expertise. The key to strategic networking is being genuinely interested in others' work and looking for authentic ways to contribute. Don't try to network with people just because they're influential. Network with people whose work you genuinely respect and admire. Authentic relationships are much more valuable than superficial connections. Case studies and results documentation are essential for proving your expertise. Anyone can claim to be an expert, but not everyone can point to specific examples of their expertise, creating measurable results. Document every success, measure every outcome, and collect testimonials from everyone you help. The key to powerful case studies is specificity. Don't just say you helped someone improve their business. Say you helped them increase revenue by 37% in 4 months by implementing a specific strategy. Don't just claim you're a good speaker. Mention that 93% of your presentation attendees rate your sessions as extremely valuable. These specific results become powerful social proof that supports your authority. When potential clients or collaborators see documented evidence of your expertise creating results, they become much more confident in your abilities. Media appearances and press coverage significantly amplify your authority. When respected publications quote you, interview you, or feature your work, they lend their credibility to yours. This third-party validation is often more powerful than anything you could say about yourself. Building media relationships takes time and patience. Start by following journalists and publications that cover your field. Share their articles, comment thoughtfully on their work, and look for opportunities to provide helpful information or insights. When you become known as a reliable source of valuable information, media professionals will start reaching out to you. The key to successful media relationships is being genuinely helpful rather than promotional. When a journalist needs an expert opinion, provide it without trying to sell anything. When they need background information, share it freely. When they're looking for case studies or examples, offer relevant ones, even if they don't directly benefit you. Awards and recognition from peers in industry organizations. Provide external validation of your expertise. Apply for relevant awards. Submit your work for industry recognition and encourage satisfied clients or collaborators to nominate you for honors. These external validations carry significant weight because they come from objective third parties. But don't just wait for recognition, actively seek opportunities to be recognized. This might involve joining professional associations, participating in industry committees, or contributing to professional publications. The more visible you are in your professional community, the more likely you are to be recognized for your contributions. Teaching and mentoring others is one of the most powerful ways to build authority while also giving back to your field. When you teach, you demonstrate your expertise while helping others develop theirs. When you mentor, You create relationships with people who will become advocates for your expertise as they advance in their careers. Look for opportunities to teach in formal settings like universities or training programs, but also create informal teaching opportunities. This might involve mentoring junior colleagues, leading professional development sessions, or creating educational content online. The key to authority building through teaching is being genuinely invested in your students' success. When people learn valuable skills from you and achieve better results because of your guidance, they become powerful advocates for your expertise. Collaborative projects with other experts can significantly boost your authority by association. When you work on important projects with respected colleagues, you benefit from their credibility while contributing your own expertise. These collaborations also create opportunities to learn from others and expand your own knowledge. Look for opportunities to collaborate on research, co-author articles, speak on panels, or work on consulting projects with other experts. These collaborations should be mutually beneficial, with each participant contributing their unique expertise to create something better than any individual could create alone. Authority building is a long-term process that requires patience and persistence. You can't become a recognized expert overnight. But if you consistently demonstrate expertise, provide value, and build relationships, your authority will grow steadily over time. And once you have established authority, maintaining it becomes much easier because people naturally seek out your insights and opinions. Remember, the goal of building authority is not just personal advancement. It's about becoming genuinely more valuable to others. When you have real expertise and use it to help others succeed, everyone benefits. You achieve your goals while making meaningful contributions to your field and to the people you serve. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to leverage your growing authority through strategic positioning that makes you the obvious choice for opportunities and partnerships. Chapter 6. The Power of Strategic Positioning. Once you've begun building authority, the next step is learning how to position yourself strategically so that opportunities come to you rather than you having to chase them. Strategic positioning is about becoming the obvious choice when people need what you offer. It's about creating such a clear and compelling professional identity that when someone has a problem you can solve, they immediately think of you. Most people position themselves reactively. They wait for opportunities to appear, then try to convince others why they should be chosen. Strategic positioning works differently. It involves proactively shaping how you're perceived so that when opportunities arise, you're the natural choice. You're not competing for consideration. You're the obvious selection. The foundation of strategic positioning is clarity about what you want to be known for. Most people try to position themselves as good at everything, which means they're not known for anything specific. Strategic positioning requires choosing a specific niche, problem, or type of outcome that you want to own in people's minds. This doesn't mean limiting your capabilities. It means focusing your public identity. You might be capable of solving many different types of problems, but you want to be known for solving one specific type exceptionally well. When people have that specific problem, you want to be the first person they think of. Choosing your positioning requires understanding the intersection of three factors: what you're exceptionally good at, what the market needs, and what you're passionate about. Your positioning should be at the center of this intersection, where your unique strengths meet genuine market demand and align with your personal interests. The exceptionally good at component requires honest self-assessment. What do you do better than most other people? What comes naturally to you that others struggle with? What have you achieved results in that others haven't? This might be a specific skill, a unique combination of skills, or a particular approach to solving problems. The market needs component requires external research. What problems are people actively trying to solve? What outcomes are they willing to pay for? What gaps exist between what's currently available and what people actually want? Your positioning should address real needs, not just problems you're interested in solving. The passionate about component ensures sustainability. Building a strong position requires consistent effort over time, and that's only sustainable if you genuinely care about the work. What problems do you find intellectually stimulating? What outcomes do you find personally rewarding? What type of work energizes rather than drains you? Once you've identified your positioning, you need to develop a clear value proposition that communicates it effectively. Your value proposition should answer 3 questions. Who do you serve? What specific problem do you solve for them? What unique outcome do you deliver that others don't? The most powerful value propositions are specific rather than general. Instead of "I help businesses improve," say "I help manufacturing companies reduce waste by at least 20% within 6 months." Instead of "I provide marketing services," say "I help B2B software companies generate qualified leads through content marketing." Specificity makes your value proposition more memorable and more credible. It also makes it easier for others to refer opportunities to you because they understand exactly what you do and who you serve. Your positioning should also differentiate you from competitors in meaningful ways. This doesn't mean claiming to be better than everyone else. It means being different in ways that matter to your target audience. Maybe you serve a specific industry that others ignore. Maybe you use a unique approach that produces different results. Maybe you focus on a particular type of outcome that others don't prioritize. The key to effective differentiation is understanding what your target audience values most. Do they care more about speed, quality, cost, innovation, or reliability? Once you understand what they value, you can position yourself as exceptional in that specific dimension. Thought leadership content should align with your positioning. Everything you write, speak about, or share publicly should reinforce your position as the expert in your chosen area. This doesn't mean you can only talk about one topic, but your content should consistently demonstrate your expertise in your positioning area. Your thought leadership should also anticipate where your field is heading rather than just commenting on where it is now. Position yourself as someone who understands not just current challenges, but future opportunities. This forward-thinking perspective makes you more valuable because you're helping people prepare for what's coming rather than just responding to what's already here. Case studies become especially important for strategic positioning because they provide concrete evidence that you deliver the specific outcomes you claim. Your case studies should tell complete stories about how you've helped clients in your target market achieve the results you specialize in delivering. The most powerful case studies include specific metrics and timelines. Don't just say you helped someone improve their business. Provide exact numbers and time frames. These specifics make your capabilities feel real and achievable rather than abstract or exaggerated. You should also collect case studies that demonstrate your expertise across different scenarios within your positioning. If you specialize in helping manufacturing companies reduce waste, collect examples from different types of manufacturing, different company sizes, and different waste reduction challenges. This shows the breadth of your expertise within your specialty. Strategic partnerships can significantly amplify your positioning by associating you with respected organizations and individuals. Look for opportunities to collaborate with companies, consultants, or experts who serve your target market in complementary ways. These partnerships might involve joint ventures, referral relationships, or collaborative projects. The key is that both parties should benefit from the association while strengthening their respective market positions. When developing partnerships, think about what types of organizations your ideal clients already trust and work with. If you help manufacturing companies reduce waste, you might partner with equipment suppliers, process improvement consultants, or industry associations. These partners can provide credibility and access to your target market. Speaking opportunities should align with your positioning strategy. Seek out conferences, events, and forums where your target audience gathers. Don't just speak at any event that will have you focus on events where your ideal clients and collaborators are likely to be present. Your speaking topics should reinforce your positioning while providing genuine value to the audience. Share frameworks, case studies, and insights that demonstrate your expertise while helping attendees solve relevant problems. Each speaking opportunity should strengthen your reputation in your chosen market when possible. Seek out speaking opportunities that position you alongside other recognized experts in your field. Being included in expert panels or keynoting at respected industry events significantly boosts your credibility and visibility. Publication strategy should also support your positioning. Write for publications that your target audience reads regularly. This might include industry magazines, professional journals, or influential blogs. Guest posting on respected platforms can significantly expand your reach while reinforcing your expertise. Your publication strategy should include both broad-reach publications that build general awareness and specialized publications that reach your specific target market. The goal is to be visible wherever your ideal clients and collaborators look for insights and information. When pitching publication ideas, focus on topics that showcase your unique perspective within your positioning. Don't just rehash common knowledge, provide new insights, challenge conventional wisdom, or share innovative approaches that only someone with your specific expertise could offer. Social media positioning requires consistency across all platforms. Your LinkedIn profile, Twitter bio, and other social media presence should all reinforce the same positioning message. People should immediately understand what you specialize in, regardless of where they encounter you online. Your social media content should mix thought leadership, industry insights, and behind-the-scenes glimpses of your work. The goal is to stay top of mind with your network while consistently demonstrating your expertise and value. Don't try to be active on every social media platform. Focus on the ones where your target audience is most active and engaged. It's better to have a strong presence on 2 platforms than a weak presence on 5. Referral network development is crucial for strategic positioning because referrals are often the highest quality opportunities. Identify other professionals who serve your target market in complementary ways and systematically build relationships with them. These referral sources might include other consultants, service providers, vendors, or advisors who your ideal clients work with regularly. The key is building genuine relationships based on mutual value rather than just asking for referrals. You can strengthen referral relationships by referring opportunities to others when appropriate, collaborating on projects, sharing insights and information, and generally being helpful to your network. When people see you as valuable to their own success, they're much more likely to refer opportunities to you. Pricing strategy also supports positioning. Your pricing should reflect the value of your positioning rather than just your costs or competitive rates. If you're positioned as a specialist who delivers unique outcomes, your pricing should reflect that specialization. Premium pricing can actually strengthen your positioning by reinforcing your expertise and exclusivity. When you charge significantly more than generalists, it signals that you offer something they don't. This price positioning can become a competitive advantage rather than a disadvantage. However, premium pricing must be supported by premium results. You can only charge more if you deliver disproportionate value. This means measuring and documenting your results carefully so you can justify your pricing with concrete evidence. Geographic positioning might also be relevant depending on your field. Do you want to be known as the expert in your local market, or do you want to build a national or international reputation? Your geographic focus should align with your business model and growth objectives. Local positioning can be very powerful because it's easier to build relationships and reputation in a smaller market. You can become the recognized expert in your city or region more quickly than you could achieve national recognition. But if your expertise is highly specialized or if your target market is geographically dispersed, you might need to build a broader geographic presence. This requires more resources but can lead to larger opportunities. Strategic positioning is not a one-time activity. It's an ongoing process that requires consistent effort and periodic refinement. Market conditions change, your expertise evolves, and new opportunities emerge. Your positioning should adapt while maintaining the core identity you've built. Regular positioning audits can help you assess whether your current position is still optimal. Are you attracting the right opportunities? Are people understanding your value proposition clearly? Are you differentiated from competitors in meaningful ways? These assessments help you adjust your positioning strategy as needed. Remember, the goal of strategic positioning is not just to be well known. It's to be known for the right things by the right people. When you've achieved effective positioning, opportunities come to you because people immediately think of you when they need what you offer. You're not competing for consideration. You're the obvious choice. In the final chapter, we'll put everything together and explore how to implement these influence strategies systematically to create the outcomes you want in every area of your life. Chapter 7: Implementation, Putting It All Together. Understanding influence principles is only valuable if you can implement them systematically in real situations. Most people learn about persuasion techniques but never develop the skill to apply them consistently and effectively. This final chapter will show you how to integrate everything you've learned into a practical system that you can use to create influence and achieve outcomes in any situation. The key to successful implementation is developing what I call influence intelligence. The ability to quickly assess situations, select appropriate techniques, and execute them naturally and ethically. This requires practice, feedback, and continuous refinement. But once developed, it becomes an automatic capability that serves you in every interaction. Let's start with situation assessment. Before you can choose the right influence approach, you need to understand the dynamics of the specific situation you're facing. This means analyzing several key factors: the people involved, the stakes, the constraints, the timeline, and the decision-making process. Understanding the people involves more than just knowing their titles or roles. You need to understand their motivations, pressures, communication preferences, and decision styles. Some people respond better to logical arguments, while others are moved by emotional appeals. Some want detailed information while others prefer high-level summaries. Some make decisions quickly while others need time to process. You can gather this information through direct observation, asking questions, researching their background, or talking to people who know them well. The key is being systematic about gathering insights rather than making assumptions based on limited information. Understanding the stakes means knowing what's really at risk for everyone involved. What do people stand to gain or lose based on the decision being made? What are the visible stakes that everyone acknowledges? And what are the hidden stakes that people might not want to admit? Understanding these dynamics helps you frame your approach in ways that address real concerns rather than surface issues. Constraint analysis involves identifying the factors that limit what's possible in the situation. These might include budget limitations, timeline pressures, organizational policies, technical requirements, or political considerations. Understanding constraints helps you craft realistic proposals that work within existing limitations rather than requiring changes that won't happen. Timeline assessment is crucial because different influence techniques work better in different time frames. If you need a decision immediately, you'll use different approaches than if you have months to build consensus. Some techniques require relationship building over time, while others can create immediate impact. Decision process analysis involves understanding how decisions actually get made in the specific situation you're facing. Who has formal authority? Who has informal influence? What criteria will be used to evaluate options? What happened the last time a similar decision was made? Understanding these dynamics helps you direct your influence efforts toward the right people and present your case in ways that align with how decisions are actually made. Once you've assessed the situation, you need to select appropriate influence techniques based on what you've learned. This requires matching your techniques to the specific people, circumstances, and objectives involved. For logical decision makers who value data and analysis, you'll emphasize facts, case studies, and rational arguments. For emotional decision makers who are motivated by feelings and relationships, you'll focus on stories, vision, and personal connection. For security-focused decision makers who want to avoid risk, you'll emphasize safety, precedent, and incremental change. You also need to consider the influence techniques that are most appropriate for your relationship with the person you're trying to influence. If you have established credibility, you can use authority-based approaches. If you're building a new relationship, you might focus on reciprocity and liking. If you're dealing with someone who's naturally skeptical, you might emphasize social proof and third-party validation. The key is having multiple influence tools available and being flexible about which ones you use in specific situations. Don't try to force one approach to work in every situation. Instead, adapt your approach based on what's most likely to be effective given the specific circumstances. Execution requires translating your influence strategy into natural, authentic communication. The best influence techniques are invisible. They don't feel like influence to the person being influenced. This means integrating persuasion principles into your normal communication style rather than using obvious techniques that feel manipulative. Practice is essential for developing natural execution. Start by focusing on one or two influence principles and practicing them in low-stakes situations until they become automatic. Then gradually add additional techniques as your skill develops. It's better to master a few techniques completely than to use many techniques poorly. Role-playing can be extremely valuable for developing execution skills. Practice important conversations with colleagues or friends before they happen. This helps you refine your approach, anticipate objections, and develop confidence in your ability to handle different scenarios. Video recording yourself practicing can provide valuable feedback about your communication style, body language, and overall presence. Many people are surprised by how they come across to others, and this feedback can help you adjust your approach to be more effective. Feedback collection is crucial for improving your influence skills over time. After important conversations or presentations, ask trusted colleagues for honest feedback about your effectiveness. What landed well? What could have been better? What would they have done differently? You should also pay attention to the results you're achieving. Are people responding positively to your requests? Are you achieving the outcomes you want? Are your relationships strengthening over time? These outcome measures provide important data about the effectiveness of your influence approach. Keep a journal of your influence experiences, noting what techniques you used, how people responded, and what results you achieved over time. This creates a valuable database of insights about what works in different situations and with different types of people. Integration with your professional role requires adapting influence techniques to your specific job responsibilities and organizational context. A sales professional will apply these principles differently than a project manager, and a consultant will use them differently than an internal employee. The key is understanding how influence fits into your broader professional objectives. Are you trying to close more deals, build stronger teams, gain support for initiatives, or advance your career? Your influence strategy should align with these larger goals rather than being an end in itself. You also need to consider the cultural and organizational norms of your workplace. Some organizations value direct communication while others prefer more subtle approaches. Some cultures emphasize relationship building while others focus on results. Your influence approach should work within these existing norms rather than fighting against them. Building systematic habits around influence ensures that you consistently apply these principles rather than only remembering them occasionally. This might involve preparing for important conversations, using a standard framework, following up on commitments systematically or regularly. Networking with key stakeholders. Preparation rituals can help you consistently apply influence principles. Before important meetings or conversations, spend a few minutes reviewing your objectives, assessing the people involved, and selecting appropriate techniques. This preparation makes influence more intentional and effective. Follow-up systems ensure that you maintain momentum after initial influence efforts. This might involve sending thank-you notes, sharing relevant articles, or scheduling follow-up conversations. Consistent follow-up often makes the difference between initial interest and actual commitment. Relationship maintenance activities help you build the long-term credibility and rapport that make influence more effective over time. This includes staying in touch with important contacts, providing value to your network, and building your reputation systematically. Ethical considerations become especially important as your influence skills develop. The techniques you've learned are powerful, which means you have a responsibility to use them ethically. This means focusing on creating mutual value rather than just getting what you want. Always consider whether your influence efforts are helping others achieve legitimate objectives or just manipulating them for your benefit. The best influence creates win-win outcomes where everyone benefits from the decision being made. Be honest about your motivations and transparent about your objectives. People are more likely to be influenced by someone they trust. And trust requires honesty about what you're trying to achieve and why. Respect others' autonomy and right to make their own decisions. Influence should help people make better decisions, not force them to make decisions they don't want to make. If someone says no after you've made your best case, respect that decision rather than becoming pushy or manipulative. Continuous improvement requires treating influence as a lifelong learning process rather than a fixed skill. The principles remain constant, but their application evolves as you gain experience and face new challenges. Stay current with research on persuasion, influence, and human psychology. New insights from behavioral economics, neuroscience, and social psychology can provide additional tools for your influence toolkit. Seek out challenging influence situations that stretch your skills. Volunteer for difficult projects, take on leadership roles, or put yourself in situations where you need to influence people who don't report to you. These challenges accelerate your skill development. Find mentors or coaches who can provide guidance on your influence development. Learning from people who have mastered these skills can significantly accelerate your progress and help you avoid common mistakes. Measuring results helps you understand the effectiveness of your influence efforts and identify areas for improvement. This might involve tracking quantitative measures like deal closure rates or approval percentages, or qualitative measures like relationship quality or reputation development. Set specific measurable goals for your influence development. These might include objectives like increasing your success rate in negotiations, building stronger relationships with key stakeholders, or being recognized as a thought leader in your field. Regular self-assessment helps you identify strengths to leverage and weaknesses to address. Be honest about your current skill level and create development plans that address your specific needs. Remember that influence is ultimately about service. Using your skills to help others achieve their objectives while also achieving your own. When you approach influence from a service mindset, it becomes more ethical, more effective, and more sustainable over time. The most successful influencers are those who consistently create value for others while advancing their own goals. They build reputations as people who help others succeed, which makes people naturally want to help them succeed in return. As you implement these influence strategies, keep in mind that mastery takes time. Don't expect to become a master influencer overnight. Focus on consistent application, continuous learning, and gradual improvement. Small gains compound over time to create dramatic increases in your influence capabilities. The principles and techniques you've learned in this audiobook are not just theories. They are practical tools that can transform your ability to create outcomes and achieve your goals. But they only work if you apply them consistently and systematically. Start today. Choose one principle or technique and look for opportunities to apply it in your current situations. Pay attention to the results. Adjust your approach based on what you learn. Build your influence skills systematically, and you'll find that your ability to shape outcomes and achieve your objectives grows dramatically over time. Your future success will be determined not just by what you know or how hard you work, but by your ability to influence others to support your goals and vision. These skills will serve you in every area of your life: professional advancement, business development, team leadership, and personal relationships. The choice is yours. You can continue to hope that your good ideas and hard work will be recognized and rewarded. Or you can develop the influence skills that ensure your ideas get implemented and your efforts are supported by others. You can remain at the mercy of other people's decisions. Or you can learn to shape those decisions in ways that benefit everyone involved. The principles are proven, the techniques are learnable, the results are achievable. Now it's time to put them into practice and begin creating the outcomes you want in every area of your life. Your journey to strategic influence mastery starts now.